The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of Green Acres and our guests. These general gardening tips and suggestions may work for you, as well as those from alternative sources. When using any garden products or tools, read and follow all label directions. And learn how to make your yard summer strong at bewatersmart.info.
The Green Acres Garden Podcast is the podcast dedicated to helping gardeners hone their growing skills while we celebrate our love of plants. So whether you're new to growing or a seasoned gardener, you're sure to learn something new. Join the fun as we have conversations with world-class growers, passionate green thumbs, and professional garden experts from Green Acres Nursery and Supply. Listen every week. We'll answer questions you didn't know you had. And away we grow. Hey there, what's up everyone? I hope you're doing great. Welcome to the show. This is the Green Acres Garden Podcast, the home for all you plant lovers out there. I'm your host, Kevin Jordan, plant lover extraordinaire, garden teacher by day, podcaster by night, and really just your friendly neighborhood garden dude here for another episode to talk plants. So please join us for another journey while we get to talk all things gardening. Austin, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Kevin, and welcome back to all of our listeners. Welcome back to the best time of the week. It's Garden Podcast time, and I'm curious, Kevin, it's been a minute, couple weeks since I've been able to check in. What's going on in your garden? Tell me what's going on.
Well, dude, so much. Okay, so this episode isn't about seeds, but I might as well just tell people, go plant seeds. Seeds. Get germinating, folks. So a few weeks back, I germinated like crazy. I'm the germinator. At the school with the students. We got our hands on some tomato seeds, some pepper seeds, actually even a lot of flower seeds we got going. That was the one thing this year. We planted a lot of flowers last year, but this year we're planting even more flowers, and I want more of them to be from seed directly.
The flowers from seed?
Yes, and so we've got flowers going, we've got some herbs, but I want to tell you about the peppers. So producer Greg Gayton, he is like my plant hero. He knows his stuff. He's a total Californian through and through, but I will spill the beans. He's from Colorado.
Yeah.
He visited there recently, brought me back some seeds.
From Pueblo.
I got Pueblo pepper seeds, planted them. Dude, sometimes you plant some seeds and you're not sure how many are going to pop up or sprout. I swear 100% of these things sprouted up. High germination rate. They're already past their cotyledons are already kind of getting surpassed by their second set of true leaves already.
I've really been behind on what's going on. You got a lot going on over there.
Yeah. So for those of you when seeds sprout, they'll either come out with one cotyledon, one little baby seed leaf,
or two.
So you get your monocots, your dicots.
But they're not like the other leaves. They're kind of like different, and they kind of become like little feet almost that like prop it up.
Little primitive solar panels that are tucked away in the seeds. They emerge once the seed germinates, and then their job is just to get some energy to provide so those true leaves can emerge and then really do the work. And now the tomatoes, I actually had a transplant. They're early girls, Austin. We might as well call them women. These tomato seedlings are early women. They're huge. They're early girls.
Wow.
We already had to get them out of the little 6-packs in our starter packs. We've already upgraded them to 4-inch containers, fresh potting soil, a little bit of nutrition. And dude, they're
Are they
excitingly
on
big.
The growing rate of everything else, or because I know early girls are typically they're genetically
they're an early
bred
harvest,
to provide fruit early, but do they also grow faster too?
That's a great question. They seem to be taking off, but I also started some Cherokee purples at the same time, and they're just as big.
Wow.
But
so you've just got germination craziness
for sure
over there.
Tomatoes are rocking, so I'm urging you, don't wait to having transplants is super convenient, and even though I'm planting from seed like wild, I'm sure I'm probably still going to have to get some. But with that knowledge, I love planting from seed. It's not too late. Wherever you live, check out a seed planting calendar that is, fit to you for your setting and your growing zone. You can, even for all the things I talked about, peppers, tomatoes, it's not too late. You can still get going and get caught up. Don't worry about me. But if you want to race, let's do it, folks.
That's so
the
exciting.
Seedlings are taking off, Austin, and like wildfire. I have them underneath the grow lights. I'm even starting to move them outside to our little sheltered greenhouse area. And I'm excited.
Did you do a heating mat too?
Heating mats for the seeds. Yep. And some of them, these flower seeds, we did some cosmos. We did some zinnias and some marigolds. We planted the seeds on a Friday, Austin. Mm-hmm. Monday morning, I came into seedlings that had already sprouted. So they germinated and grew to 2 inches in 3 days.
Wow.
So it's pretty exciting. Like I said, the seeds are the magic of the garden. So this whole episode is not going to be about that. But I got to say, this time of year, I would be I'd be mistaken if I didn't bring it up.
Sure.
So if you're listening and you're thinking about growing even a small garden, start from seed and consider starting soon because it's not too late. But that got me thinking about all the food I'm growing out in the garden. The school's ripping. We've been pruning the fruit trees. I just finished spraying my third application of dormant sprays. What is it? The liquid copper on a lot of our stone fruit trees. They're pruned up. They're sprayed up. I've actually even been grafting, which is something we'll tap into this episode. It will be a topic that we'll touch on a little bit. But guess what? Today's episode kind of ties into all that food I talked about. But what's nice about these is you don't have to start them from seed every single year. You actually, each year, they get better and better and better. And what I'm talking about is fruit trees. And so today's episode is going to be dedicated all to your own personal orchard, your backyard orchard, and how to kind of maintain it and take care of it and get the most out of your space, even if it's not a lot.
All right, Kevin, I'm so excited to talk about our main topic, which is growing fruit trees. And why do you want to talk about fruit trees today, Kevin? Let's start there with the why. What are we talking about this for?
Well, I want, if anyone listening, maybe close your eyes if you're not driving.
Okay.
But just imagine being like, I'm going to go outside of my house, on my patio, and just go get some food right now. Whether you're cooking a dish or whatever. I love that, being able to walk outside, whether it's herbs or whatever. But for me, the fruit trees are so dependable. At my own house, I have a lime tree, a lemon tree. We've got a Cara orange. We've got the Satsuma mandarin. I just planted a pink lady apple. We got some blueberries. And if you walk past my yard, you might not even realize that there is a lot of fruit trees there or an edible stuff. It just looks like a typical ornamental landscape, but it's hybridized. So it's partially edible. I just love that idea of being able to go outside and get some fruit. And so the concept of the backyard orchard culture, really, it started with our folks over there at Dave Wilson Nursery.
Right.
We got to meet Ed Livo several times. Ed, if we haven't been past episodes, I told someone the other day about Ed Livo. He's so passionate and knowledgeable about backyard orchard culture, about fruit trees. We've got to learn from him. And I beg you, if you're a listener, I hope somebody loves you someday half as much as Ed loves fruit trees because he is so passionate about them. And it fires me up about it. So really the concept is squeezing in as much healthy, vibrant, lush fruit trees that you can grow into a given space. And so with backyard orchard culture, it's all about quality. It's about extending that season with having a successive harvest. So it's finding varieties that ripen early season, mid-season, late season, and beyond, and finding things that really do well in your climate so you're not struggling. Luckily for us here, Zone 9B, we are right in that sweet spot where there's so many options for things that do well, from apple trees, pear trees, figs. I know some people just love figs, and you could include them in this. But the citrus, of course, all the stone fruits, pluots we'll get into, apriums. They do really well in our climate, and so I think we are at the perfect little place to be able to really utilize these techniques, and it really means shrinking down your orchard. So which is kind of counterintuitive.
Shrinking down your orchard to fit in your backyard.
I would say that's the first strategy.
So how much space minimum do you think you need to get started?
Well, first you're going to want to, anytime you plant these fruit trees, it's kind of like planting your tomato garden. You're going to want at least 6 to 8 hours of full sun a day to really get a healthy tree.
Okay.
Now, you may be able to kind of work that a little bit with some varieties, but typically the more sunshine, the more energy, the more fruit that your tree can produce. And so a lot of these they're going to demand at least 6 to 8 hours a day. But once you have your spot, find varieties. Like I said, if you can find varieties that you're going to eat and enjoy. But also, like I said, try to create a situation where, like I said, I have early season varieties. So you can go to Dave Wilson has a website. Can we put that link that in our description?
Oh, yeah. So Dave Wilson has their fruit and nut tree calendar. And I'll go ahead and link that in the episode description. Check that there. You can find that on their website. It's got a big calendar year, and going across it are all the varieties. So you can see when that you would be harvesting from those different trees. Right?
Love it. It's super helpful.
So you're saying you would look at that and kind of pick, what would you be looking for?
Well, it's helpful. Actually, even just head down to your local nursery, Green Acres Nursery and Supply, of course. But you'll see on the tags, it'll show you when that tree is harvested, the typical harvest periods. And some of them are early season, mid-season, late season, or somewhere in between. Mm-hmm. And so once you start finding varieties, you go, hey, I'm going to if you want just a couple peaches or a couple nectarines or whatever it is you do select, there's so many different variations of those that typically you can find one that, I have an October peach that we planted at the school.
That's late for a peach,
It's a super late season peach.
Okay.
Some of the delicious peaches we have, they're great, but only the summer school kids get to enjoy them. The October peach comes on later in the year and right when the school year begins. So it's perfect. So you
That's
can really
cool.
kind of engineer your plant selection based upon having like a never-ending harvest, if that's what you want.
Real fast before we move on, the opposite of that would be kind of bad, right? Like I don't know if anyone's thinking like I want all of them to be harvesting at the same time. I don't know. Maybe there is a reason for that.
There is benefit to that, right? That'd be like agricultural farm style,
Oh, right,
where you have
right.
a big, massive area, and you're like, it wouldn't make sense to have them all fruiting at different times because that'd be kind of labor intensive to get out there. But for us at home, it's on our back patio. We're not worried about
Sure. Okay.
maximizing that efficiency of harvest time. You want to be able to go out there in spring and get some fruit. You want to be able to go out there midsummer, get some fruit, late
Yep.
summer, even into fall. And right now, I mean, I'm eating fruit all through winter thanks to the citrus. But when the stone fruits are concerned, you can still spread that out, whether it be cherries, plums, pluots, apriums, or whatnot. You can get kind of creative, or even the things that people, I mean, this is a powerhouse staple here in Sacramento for the fall.
What's that?
Persimmons.
Oh, persimmons. Yeah.
They are so abundant when a lot of everything is kind of done.
Huh.
And it's great. And they're like these crunchy, sweet, kind of like a toned down apple.
Yep.
I love them. I didn't grow up eating them, and now I'm just fascinated by them. My mother-in-law grows them at her house. I don't, other than just giving them a little cut every now and then, not a whole lot of care goes into them, and they produce like
I totally
crazy.
agree. Persimmons are so delicious. I wasn't that crazy about them. Recently, though, I had the fortune of being able to go dine at the kitchen.
Nice.
You know, the local restaurant
Oh,
here,
yeah.
very famous. And they had persimmons hanging up in the ceiling. And part of the dessert was just a thinly sliced piece of persimmon that had been dry aged for a year. And it had like lost a lot of its
The
moisture.
sugar was all concentrated.
Yeah. And I was like, what are the ones hanging up there? And they're like, oh, those will be dessert next year. You know,
I love it.
They just leave them up there, dry them, and they get sweeter and better. It's awesome.
Well, I love that you bring that up. Actually, at the school, we've been harvesting the blood oranges and a lot of citrus in general.
Oh,
but
you showed me
we're
you
slicing them.
dehydrate it.
Yeah, we're washing them.
That's
We
cool.
slice them with the kids, and now we with this dehydrator, and we get to dehydrate them, make these little slices. You can eat them, put them in your drinks, whatever, sell them. But it's awesome, and then we can enjoy them throughout the year. It's just pretty cool.
There's so many cool uses for all these fruits. Yeah. So, okay, I love this. Thank you, Kevin, for telling me about this successive harvesting. I think that's super cool. Do you have any like cool examples of that? Like maybe 5 trees that we could do that would get us kind of like almost around the year? I know each tree probably you're harvesting for a couple months.
Yeah,
Right?
and actually something that you bring up. I'll have to touch on later. There's some of these that we'll talk about. They're great selections for the home garden because their fruit hangs on the branch for a long time
Oh,
without
nice.
going bad.
Oh, that's
so
good.
something like the flavor grenade pluot. Well, it'll be ripe and then just sit on that branch for weeks and weeks and weeks and
Ooh.
not just fall. They're great. So it's kind of like how we had a guest on a few weeks back. She talked about, hey, the best spot to keep your lemons kind of fresh is just
Debbie.
Debbie said
yeah.
just leave it on the shrub as long as you can until you need it because it might stay there
'Cause
better.
It keeps better there than in the fridge.
These pluots, they're similar. We're like, if you don't get to, which is great for me at the school garden, because if I'm not there a certain week or the students aren't there, you don't want to come back and have them all fall to the ground and miss that harvest. So finding varieties like that not just have a harvest in the period that you need, but also ones that have an attribute like a long harvest window, that's pretty cool too. Plus, I think pluots are just amazing.
Yeah, they are.
It's like, oh my gosh, thank you, Zager. They're incredible. They're just incredible. But here we go. So if you want like an example, Austin, of an early season variety, so like a May Pride peach or a desert gold peach, they're known to be like May, June harvest, very low chill. They'll be harvested before the summer heat even comes around, which is kind of nice. A mid-season one would be like a Flavor King pluot. Those are, I mean, obviously, I'm sold on pluots. The flesh is like a plum, but that skin is tart, and each one you get, there's so many varieties. They're all a little different, buddy. I love them.
And that's right in the middle of summer?
Yeah, it is a mid-season. So
Okay.
July, August, even a mid-Pride peach, you might get some of those. The Flavor King, that is a Dave Wilson exclusive, man. That is
Nice.
one that came out of there and it's just, I mean, it's killer. And all these ones do really well with our hot summers. They actually thrive in that, which is great because not everything does.
Right.
A late season one, like I brought up earlier, the Flavor Grenade pluot, or even like a Fuji apple.
Ooh.
Those are ones you're going to get September, October. I brought up earlier the October peach is a late season peach, which is fantastic. And then, of course, for our winter months, things like the pink lady apple I brought up usually comes late in the fall, but for the winter, I'm talking citrus. So
There we go.
The satsumas, your lemons, your oranges. I mean, what's nice about the mandarins too? That's another one where you could really get successive with it. You have early season mandarins, mid season mandarins, late season mandarins.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so the
cool.
satsumas come on early. That's kind of like the cuties.
Right.
In the fall, the cuties are one variety that you get, and then if you buy cuties later in the season, it's going to be a very similar variety, but something a little different. Yeah.
Well, now I just like going up to Newcastle to get,
Oh, they're amazing.
The legit mandarins.
For sure. So you can do it with citrus, but really, with that, you can extend from the dead of winter, you can have fresh, delicious fruit. I mean, we had some guests in the garden today. I mean, we're just pulling off these navel oranges. I mean, the size of a toddler's melon.
Wow.
Their head. They're huge, and they're so sweet. I mean, they're absolutely delicious. The sugar in there that you brought up earlier, it's delicious. And now the blood oranges are coming on. They're starting to get color in their cheeks.
Great.
And then, like I mentioned, we've got the Tahoe Gold. We had the Satsumas. Now we're enjoying Tahoe Gold mandarins. And then pretty soon after that, we got the Gold Nugget mandarins. There's Tango mandarin. There's something for everybody. And so when you do select their trees, I would say find one that you really do enjoy, but also find some that you can extend that harvest so you can have something that there's always something to go out to and enjoy.
Wow, that's so cool. Thanks for sharing that. So it sounded like you could go from peach to pluot to
Nectarines,
your
it's like
an apple was in there.
Apricot, pears. Pears grow well here too.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. So yeah, I encourage everyone to check out the Dave Wilson nut and I think it's the fruit and nut tree calendar for the year, and maybe look at some varieties. Maybe you already have some and you want to extend your harvest before or after that and fill in some gaps in the calendar year so you could be eating more delicious food from your backyard. But this is making me wonder, Kevin, if we are able to fit some into our backyard. What you said we need to keep them down in size. So like, what are the strategies here to get, like, if we could, like 5 fruit trees in our backyard, how do we do that?
So I would say the backyard orchard growing, it really comes down to, we already mentioned, like, it's about diversity of choice and selection. So having a good diverse grouping of plants, but really it's about another D word, density. So really getting them in there nice and dense, even closer than you would in a commercial farm, because you really want to utilize that space. And you don't want them to get as huge as they possibly can. So this is where the dwarfs, the semi-dwarfs, even the genetic dwarfs come in handy. So when it comes to squeezing all things in together, there's a lot of different techniques.
Well, when you plant them close to each other, you said that already in itself sort of limits their growth?
A little bit, yeah. So
Okay.
they'll reach out towards each other, but much of it is going to be height control.
Oh, okay.
So we learned from Ed, when you start planting these trees, especially right now, that's why we're bringing it up. Right now is probably the best time to plant your fruit trees, or even transplant one to a new area if you need to. But planting, going down and getting one that's either bare root or potted up, this is probably the best time of the year because of selection and because of weather. Because it's so cool, but yet it's warming up slowly, so the plants are all waking up. I was going to talk about in the intro, Austin. I know we're in the dead of winter, and I know it's technically not spring. But man, I've already noticed the plants are waking back up. Have you noticed that?
Well, we have 12 seasons in Sacramento. This is like fall, spring, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I forget.
And so some of the plants are already starting to wake up, and so it's just one of those things you really want to take advantage of that time. So you can plant and you can prune right now. With high density, it's about fitting in as many as you can. So sometimes you might squeeze them in tight, but you're also going to top them. So like we mentioned, Ed Livo says when you get these plants, you plant them right away. You want to cut them back real hard, and it hurts a little bit because you buy this tree, say a nectarine tree. I just planted one for my cousin. It was like 6 feet tall, a beautiful little sapling. But I planted it and cut it back to about 2 feet tall.
Right.
And now it's starting to develop some new shoots, and that's where the scaffolding in that canopy will begin, nice and low to the ground. And I'm gonna have
it's still gonna work its way up.
It will, and
Okay.
we'll do a nice open vase shape with that one. But guess what? You can prune these fruit trees so many different ways. So with that one, with a lot of stone fruits, I like the open center, but you could do a modified central lead if you wanted, where you had more of a center, like a traditional tree shape. But really, it's all about keeping that height down. And even with this style Ed talked about, where you can actually plant 2 or 3 fruit trees really close together, even what he would call in the same hole, but they would be kind of occupying the same space that maybe normally you would dedicate to one tree. And now they're going to be planted maybe just literally their trunks 2 feet apart.
Okay, so not literally in the same hole, but like
Yeah.
There's some space, but 2 feet between trunks. That is pretty tight.
And then you can put them in a little triangle.
Okay, that's cool.
Really tight. And then what it is, you prune out the center so they don't all compete for that middle ground, but they all have space to kind of go out and upwards a little bit.
That's cool.
So from afar, you might look like a three-headed,
It might look like one tree.
Yeah, but it's not. It could be 3 different, and they could all be kind of, one's a nectarine, one's a plum, one's a pluot, one's a whatever. And so you can have fun with that. And it takes a little bit of, you got to just gumption. You got to go for it and realize, I'm going to keep these things small. I'm not going to let them get 12, 14, 16, 20 feet. I'm going to keep them 5, 6 feet tall, what they call pedestrian height, as tall as a person, right? Give or take. Like we said, if you reach out, you should be able to reach the top of that tree. When your harvest time is, you should be able to reach the canopy. And a lot of that, in the winter, oftentimes we're pruning for health and for structure, like I'm doing a lot now at the school. But in the summer, to make this all happen and to keep these trees appropriate sized, that's where the magic happens. You come in and do summer pruning to control that height, to bring those trees back down to a more workable, manageable height, and that keeps them really just contained a little bit. And so that way they don't get out of hand, and it really makes for a better situation when you're harvesting. It makes harvesting easier, maintenance easier.
Okay, I like
and the
that.
one thing I'll say is, do all this up front. It's easier to train a tree well the first 2, 3, 4 years.
Then let it get out of hand.
Then make a lot of mistakes, not do any pruning, I'm just let it get big, and then try to come back later and create structure.
So it sounds like we need 2 times we prune in the year, once in the winter, once in the summer. And they're slightly different kinds of pruning. And then in the winter also you're doing the liquid cop, you're doing the dormant spray as well.
Yeah, and that's going to take care of...
And those 2 things are going to make your trees perform super well, right?
Absolutely. And of course, I mean, the same thing that we would, discuss for the health of a tomato or a pepper, and enrich that soil. You can pull back the mulch, add in a layer of compost, organic matter, some organic fertilizers. Now that the trees are waking up, you can get ready to start feeding them a little bit soon. And then mulch, but don't bury that trunk in mulch. It's easy once you start laying out a ton of mulch and chips. The mulch kind of moves around, but you want that trunk to breathe. Pull that mulch away from the base of that trunk. Let that collar breathe a little bit, and the tree will be happy. But so it's a lot of similarities. Feed the soil, organics. The dormant sprays are very helpful. And try to reduce actual spraying. So when you don't spray if you don't have to. And then always, if you do have to spray, make sure you're spraying what you need to spray on the thing that you are trying to target.
Right, just
so
that.
Be deliberate.
Okay, I've got a question for you. So I'm thinking about pruning now, but I'm wondering because we also have espaliered trees.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Right? So
read my mind.
So those are meant to go along a fence or a wall or something. They're kind of spread out in one direction. It's like a fruit tree on a plane. It's kind of different. So does all that pruning stuff, is it the same for those, or how does it work?
Those will be unique, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So espalier is spelled espalier, right? Espalier, I'm fresh. They're so cool. You have a central trunk, and then you have branches that radiate out, and you are trained horizontally, usually supported by wire, so that way they can hold the weight of fruit and whatnot. And you're right; they do really well against a fence because they're flat on one side, and then you can train them outwards a little bit. Really good for tight areas where you want to sneak something in. What's really cool is at the nursery, sometimes you see these espaliered fruit trees. They might be a 4-in-1, a 6-in-1, where every branch on that apple tree that radiates off of that central trunk.
It's a different variety.
A Granny Smith, a Pink Lady, a this, a that, and they're all different, which is kind of fun. And those do take a little pruning, but nothing intense, just to kind of control, give each limb its own space, make sure it's tied up and protected, and they're not all competing with each other. But another form that I've seen people do that I think is really interesting, and I would love to experiment with it. I can't say that I have, but I think from what I've seen, it's really cool. This is the cordon method.
Cordon?
Cordons.
I've never heard
and
of this.
It's where you train you can do it against a fence, very good for narrow areas where you don't have a lot of space, but you can train a single vertical stem of, say, like an apple. I've seen them with apple trees really well, where you plant the apple tree and you actually slant it at a 45. You also can then tie it and train it to like a wire or support system to kind of hold it and let it get rooted in and get strong. And then you kind of you trim it back really tight, so you have this kind of singular vertical main trunk, and then
on an angle.
Yeah, and then you can plant several of them, and you spread them not that far apart. So
you get more in the same space.
So it would require planting probably more fruit trees per whatever how much space you're using, but you get this cool slanted wall of just vibrant, rich branches of of fruit of these apple. It just looked incredible. I suggest if you've got like a narrow area that you're like really, but it's kind of good and sunny, but you're like, what can I do with this? Look up that method. It takes a little bit of I think they're not skill, but I think a little bit of learning and practice.
Right. Okay.
But just like anything, nothing we've ever discussed on the podcast is difficult. Everything we've discussed, everybody could do with a little bit of learning, a little bit of effort. And I think
what was that called again?
The cordon method. Cordon, and it's training a single tree kind of vertically, but at an angle, and then you trim it back to those budding spurs. So you essentially don't have this big, massive, bushy, wide plant. You keep it kind of narrow, but you prune it in such a way that it really encourages. So when it does produce flowers and fruit, you get these big clusters and healthy growth and a lot of production out of a relatively small plant. And then you can stack them together and have a bunch of them on a wall. So you can have several varieties really close together, kind of similar to the hedgerow style where you have like a living fence. Another thing that was kind of pioneered by the Dave Wilson nursery folks a little bit, where you plant trees, just 3 feet apart, and you could create like a hedgerow of edible fruit, which is pretty cool. You could do it with peaches, nectarines, pears, apples. It's pretty wild. And so the hedgerow style.
Fence.
Yeah, I've seen that done a number of different ways. And once you start to see a tree, that's what I love about it. Once they're rooted in and they're in an environment that they like and you're giving them what they need, they reward you so much. I love it. They really let you know that they're doing well. And so those 3 methods, and then one more, Austin.
What you got?
Containers.
Oh, for sure.
Containers. We've brought it up a million times, but actually most fruit trees do really well in containers to some degree, especially ones that are like dwarf, semi-dwarf. And, eventually you may have to upgrade to a bigger pot or whatever, or it may limit the growth a little bit. But if you're somewhere where maybe you're going to be moving, or you want to have the versatility of moving that fruit tree around your yard.
To follow the light.
Maybe. Citrus can be done like this. I've seen people do it with figs, many others, nectarines, and beyond peaches. But you give it the right container, you can, good soil, same thing, feed, but just know that whatever you put in that soil, in that container, that's all it has. So when you grow a fruit tree in a container or a pot, it's probably going to require
more nutrients.
A little bit more just because they don't have access. They're kind of limited, right? They're trapped in there. So you just consider that. But I think having a few fruit trees, start them young, throw them in pots, and take them with you wherever you move, wherever you go. And I've seen people, and I've had a ton of success with fruit trees in pots. Of course, they're not going to be it's not going to grow into a 15-foot monster. You're going to keep it a bit smaller, and you'll probably likely be more encouraged to keep it smaller because it'll be easier to take care of. But containers, man, fruit trees in containers, I love it. And to me, this all kind of ties into the concept of a food forest. You keep hearing people talk about is creating this edible landscape where it has a huge emphasis on the trees, the shrubs, the perennials, the ones that are going to keep coming back year after year. So you have it. So it's already pre-established. And I like that. Having a beautiful landscape that is also just durable and dependable. And I think having fruit trees in that backyard orchard is the way to go.
All right. Wow. I'm inspired. And I've just been enjoying the fruit that I have here. I have an avocado tree and an orange tree, and I've been enjoying that lately. They're both, raining fruit down on me, and it's been wonderful. I hope everyone can get that, and maximizing that in your backyard is just such a cool thing. I learned something new, this cordon style. I've never heard of that before. This is also fascinating. I'm wondering if any of our listeners have done that or seen that. They could share photos of it in our Facebook group. Show me your cordon style or your espalier. I just want to see everyone's fruit trees too. I just think it's so cool. Thank you for schooling us up this week on this, Kevin. Super exciting and great talk. That's all the time we have for this week. Go ahead and take us out.
What? My pleasure, Austin.
Yeah.
I cannot believe the time went by that fast.
Yeah.
There's so much more to talk about, but you know what? Just get out there, folks. Learn if you're interested in growing your own fruit at home. Just the best way to learn is to just try. Do it. You can research. You can learn from us. You can learn from others, and that's fantastic. But I think ultimately, if you want to go out there and just be able to walk out your door, grab some fruit, bring it inside and enjoy it, you got to just do it. You got to just try. And there's something I want to talk about, Austin, really quick.
Up?
You know what? When it comes to cultivating our well-being, cultivating our plants in our garden, and cultivating our own joy, you can never dream too big. And so when you're planning out your backyard orchard or this season's garden or what flowers you may cultivate, plan big, dream big. Don't let anybody slow you down. When it comes to gardening, you can never dream too big. So please come back next week. We have another great episode planned for you. That the season has yet to fully begin. So let's get into it as a community garden friends. Please check in with us on Facebook. Send us your pictures of what your garden looks like. We'd love to see it. If you could rate, view our podcast on Apple
great.
And all that, we'd really appreciate it. It helps push us through and get us out there to more people so we can just connect with more gardeners just like you. So I hope you all, honestly, if you're listening to this, I wish you the very best. I hope you have an amazing week. Happy gardening to you all. And please, never stop growing. Fruit trees!